already in a situation where people are choosing between utility bills and food, because quite often people are just teetering on the brink of poverty all the time. They can't take steps to improve their lives because they're just dealing with the day-to-day. This is Revolution, which is a community centre on Central Drive in Blackpool. Central Drive is a notorious street in Blackpool. This area that we're standing in right now has the lowest median income in the country and is in the worst 1% of most measures used on the indices of multiple deprivation. If people come to Blackpool because they have problems in their previous lives and they just think, oh, I'll escape to Blackpool, quite often this is where they turn up. That sort of teetering on the brink is something we see all the time. People come to us for food parcels and for help with utility bills. Some small thing has happened that's just tipped them over into that need. And that's now. When the next lot of utility bills increases happens, we expect to see queues outside the door. In our current state, with the current number of staff we've got and the small amounts of money that I have to help people, we won't be able to touch that level of need.
Well, I'm a pensioner and I am finding it very, very hard because, as I'm saying, my gas and my electric's gone up. My name is Cynthia Corney, but I'm better known as Penny. So I've lived in Revo in Blackpool now for nearly 40 years. I came for 6 weeks to look after the George pub and ended up there for 13 years. About 2 years later, my husband died. So then I moved into sheltered accommodation. I've been here nearly 8 years now. I only put my heating on for so long, but I couldn't afford to leave it on all day because I'd just run out of money, basically. The money I'm paying would not be enough. I've got to the stage now, I'm having little nibbles instead of making proper big meals, you know what I mean? But it's just something you have to do. Like just now, I've just had a cup of coffee and a cake, and that's my tea. Now later on, I'll probably just have a sandwich about 8 o'clock, and that'll be me for the day. Instead of having a cooked meal, I'll just have a sandwich. I must admit, I've lost a lot of weight. I've probably lost 1.5 stone. So I can get in close that I could get in when I was a teenager. It's people that have got families, I think, that are really suffering. With kiddies, you've got to feed them, haven't you?
A year ago, you were lucky if I was putting £20 on a month on my electric, and it's like £60 a week now just to survive. But the money doesn't go up to compensate for that. So when you're living on bare minimum as it was, it's hard. I live with my husband, who is disabled, and goddaughter who lives with us 90% of the time. What concerns me the most is when you think about winter time, we're going to be sat there with blankets on because there's no way we can afford to keep the heating going. We're already making cutbacks on going for different products on food. And if it meant being given a choice between making sure the little one were fed and we didn't have anything, it'd be her that would always come first. I don't think the MPs here in Blackpool know what it's like to be a working person, to have to live here in Blackpool. I think, you know, with them, it's, if I'm right, they're probably getting paid quite a bit, so they don't have to worry about the cost of living, so they won't think about how that would affect other people in general. To them, it is, oh, well, this is a good life to me, I can afford to live this. But what about the people who can't?
We're seeing 40 million of investment here into Blackpool to revive the town centre. We're bringing 3,000 jobs from the outskirts into the town centre to put people in the town centre, spending money, making it a more vibrant location in and of itself, all funded by the government through the levelling up pots of money. Blackpool is a town of 142,000 people. Very complex town though. We have 8 out of the 10 poorest neighbourhoods in the country, 3 of the 4 most deprived wards. So we see really intense levels of deprivation here in the town centre that you can see behind me. So we have both affluence, but also great poverty. Many of my residents don't pay income tax at all, so tax cuts won't really benefit them. So a lot of what the government has done to help put money in people's pockets particularly those on non-means tested benefits, £650 a year, that really does help. But the cost of living crisis will always be there in the short term. Tackle inflation, which is a tax on the poor, and then we can start to focus again on rebuilding Blackpool.